There it is. Talking Nets, a quick hitter. We're doing this live. We're doing this also for the pod, but I feel like there's not too much to talk about. The Nets obviously beat the Rockets 2 nights ago. It is Friday now. That game was Wednesday. And tonight they will host the Atlanta Hawks. 6 games left to secure that 6th seed. Go ahead and hit the music, Alex.
We're doing that Brooklyn Nets talk right here on Talking Nets. Brooklyn, we go hard. Go hard. Talking Nets. Hosted by Keith McPherson, Robin Lundberg, and Hudson Flynn.
Yes, sir. Welcome back to Talking Nets, episode 204 on a Friday, the last Friday of the month of March 31st, the last day of the month as we get into April. And if you are a basketball fan, you know what April brings. Not showers, playoff basketball. Keith McPherson, Hudson Flynn, Robin Lundberg. Welcome in, guys.
You know, I gotta just go back to the feeling I've had with this team the last couple of weeks and see if you can bottle certain aspects. You talk about
remix. Hold on. You coming in like the DJ is cutting you up.
Is there something wrong with my audio?
Robbins, he's cutting, he's skipping.
You were coming in double time.
It's
like
not
DJ
better now.
Back. Try again. Try and talk again.
Phone check 1 2. What is this?
Nah, that was microphone. Phone check 1 2 2. What is this? I don't know. You gotta.
I'll take it.
Yeah, go ahead, Hudson. Handle that, Rob.
Well, while Robin fixes those technical difficulties, I mean, obviously we had the game 2 days ago, right? The Nets won a game that they're supposed to win. They didn't look as consistent as we all would like them to, but we saw once again what can happen when the Nets hit their threes, right? They turned it on late. They hit their threes late. And even though they got out-rebounded and honestly smoked in the rebound department, we showed some resilience and we got a win after being, down 5 with 3 minutes left to go. So a win is a win is a win. And a win when we're hitting threes is especially exciting. And now looking ahead to a Hawks game tonight, we had Jared Williams in the chat said that the Hawks have been very inconsistent. That's actually not true. They've been remarkably consistent. They've been historically consistent. They are the most 500 team, arguably, in the history of the NBA. They lose a game, they win a game. They lose a game, they win a game. Over their last 26 games, they're 13-13. And in very exciting news, if I am plugged in correctly, the Hawks actually lost their last game. Or they won their last game, excuse me. They beat the Cavaliers, and now they have a schedule loss up against the Nets, see if they can keep their 500 streak alive. I think they can. I would love to see the Nets beat a team that they are supposed to be better than, but are closer to them in the standings. And I would love some payback for that last loss.
Is the mic still screwed up or am I better?
I think you're better.
All right. There we go. Like unplugging it and plugging it back in is always the solution that works every time, right? As far as what Hudson was just getting at and this team as a whole, the other night was huge. And I went from thinking in my head, okay, these guys just suck, to feeling happy again, right? Because like when you watch that game against the Rockets, when you see it was coming off the Magic game, and I wrote the Magic game off. I was writing that one off, but I was in no excuse mode after that because the Magic game I thought had a legit excuse given the schedule, given they had played the Heat the night before. No excuse mode for the Rockets. And they just couldn't get together that entire game until the last 3 minutes that Hudson just alluded to. And when you talk about now and where they're at, well, that was a monster win as far as getting the stated goal.
Might have to be more than a plug-in, unplug it, Robin.
Yeah, it might be an internet connection. I think it might be a lag thing because it's double timing. Like you're saying something and it's coming through twice.
What about just with the MacBook microphone here?
Now you're
that sounds good. I mean, the mic sounds bad.
I was saying, yeah, it's a little hollow on the mic, but at least it's one timing.
All right, yeah, I'll reset the computer before the next one or something and see if that helps. But where was I at? Sorry for screwing up this entire podcast.
Talking about watching the Rockets game and coming off the Magic game and I'm still pissed about that second Cavaliers game because that could have been a win too.
That one hurt the most, but the Rockets game was going to be in that category because that Rockets loss would have been give up territory.
Yeah.
They lose that game to the Rockets, season
Big
over,
letdown.
give up, it's done with. But because they found whatever it was in the last couple minutes there, were able to come back and beat the Rockets. Well, after that, then all of a sudden, you look like the driver's seat for the 6th seed. You know, because they have the tiebreaker over Miami. So with the tiebreaker over Miami, that means Miami has to finish better than them in order to pass them and win. So essentially, the Nets have, what is it? They're up a game and a half right now, a 2.5 game lead over Miami, and they can get to the playoffs as we've wanted, as your stated goal was, Keith, to get into a playoff series. And the three guys who have now played more than James Harden, Kevin Durant, and Kyrie Irving as Nets also have a good net rating together, where Mikal Bridges, Spencer Dinwiddie, and Cam Johnson, when they've been on the floor, it's worked. Cam Johnson is now working his way towards a paycheck in the offseason. And another guy that I think we should give a little love here today is Royce O'Neal, who's been clutch for this team all season and was clutch again against Houston.
It's on me to say something, and I'm muted, but I was also in the chat. I want to go to Robert's comment, Alex, in the chat, because I had a friend of mine text me about this. This was heard on Bill Simmons' Ringer podcast, correct? I think I'm trying to go back because my guy Mike, shout out to Mike, he's a season ticket holder with the Nets. He hit me up and he said something about this too. He's like, quick question. It's the same thing. He's like, Bill Simmons is saying the Nets will get the 7 seed because either Miami or Atlanta has to win the Southeast Division, and that would make them a top. When in the this is not the NFL. This is not like when in the NBA. I bet you can't even name. It's East and West. I bet most NBA fans can't even name the Atlantic. They're like, you can't name those divisions, and winning those divisions don't give you any type of priority or status or default.
Yeah, that's old news. They changed the rule in 2015.
Yeah, it was a thing, but it's just outdated info. Bill Simmons on his BS podcast, I guess.
We're talking 8 years ago. Like, they don't give you that anymore. Like, that's not a thing anymore. It's not the I don't know why he would even bring that up. I guess he's just a Celtics Nets hater. But yeah, I remember saying to my guy Mike, I'm like, maybe he misspoke, but I think we own the tiebreaker over Miami. I read that they would have to have a better record than the Nets and the Knicks now, and I think they play tonight. The Knicks and the Heat. No, the Knicks play the Cavs tonight. I think they just played them. It doesn't matter. They're not jumping us. Unless we lose out. The Nets have 6 total games left. That I don't know. People are talking about that, and that doesn't mean anything. What Bill Simmons is talking about is from 2015. The 2015 season, I went to watch the Nets play the Hawks in Barclays Center in that playoffs, the 1 versus 8 seed, and the Nets won the game I went to, and we were leaving chanting like Nets in 6. Wasn't going to happen. But anyway, where we're at now is where I hope we'd be at. After Kyrie blew the thing up, and we're not going to say anything about Kyrie and his situation and what's going on over there in Dallas. Enjoy. All things considered, all I wanted from this team was to avoid the play-in, get into a playoff series, and right now they're in good shape to do that. And most likely we will face the Philadelphia 76ers, and I'm fine with that matchup for 2 reasons. I like the local feel of it. It's like history repeating itself as well. Before the KD Kyrie era, we faced them. We won that first game, then we got the gentleman's sweep. And for Sean Marks to have to look at Daryl Morey and those guys that you decided to help by taking on Ben Simmons' contract. Somebody wrote to us on Talking Nets Twitter, and they were like, Ben Simmons shut it down because he realized the Nets are going to face the Sixers, and he doesn't want any smoke with that. So That's where we're headed. That's where the future looks like. There's only a few games left for the Brooklyn Nets, and them bouncing back the way they did against the Rockets, I think that they'll be able to hold here and beat these teams coming up. Other than that, we were talking about the season ticket holder event. Heat have to finish one game better than the Nets, and I don't think they will. If you go look at how the Heat have played, who they have to play, and Udonis Haslam's been going through it, they're cooked. We're in good shape, and this is a different era for the Nets right now. All things considered, when we started this season, the big three was supposed to be KD, Kyrie, and Ben Simmons. The big three now is Mikal Bridges, Nick Claxton, Spencer Dinwiddie. Cam Johnson stepped up the other night. Maybe he can be more of that. I'm fine with where the Nets are. I think they can win a game, maybe two, against the Sixers. And also with the Sixers, Embiid is always hurt. Harden is always hurt. Embiid has failed in the playoffs. Harden has failed in the playoffs. Don't let this series get interesting where it goes to 5, 6, 7 games. You never know what can happen. You guys' thoughts?
Well, yeah, I mean, you win game one, and there's a lot of pressure on them, but they're already dealing with some injuries. I mean, they both missed a game the other night, the Nuggets game, right? They came back and played the next game. But it's about, one, this Nets team is coming together, and they are essentially going through an expedited training camp start of the season that happened midseason because of all the new players. I mean, 4 of the new guys that they got are starters right now. And maybe, Dorian Finney-Smith hasn't exactly earned that role with his shooting. His defense has been there, but Royce O'Neal has been the better shooter and the better cog in that regard. But it's also about this group of guys that you like watching and you like the idea of building around. I mean, Cam Johnson was in a little bit of a slump, and now I think fans are probably ready to max him out. And then there's the Mikal Bridges aspect of things where he's starting to transcend a little bit, where it's not just how good he's played, but you see the celly taking off a little bit now.
I've seen Karl Anthony Towns do it incorrectly. Karl Anthony Towns, he's a Jersey guy, but I don't know if we could claim him. He's a Kentucky guy. He's wild, goofy.
He tried to do it. I've seen some kids in the NCAA tournament do it, and Mikal Bridges.
I've got a friend whose kids play like youth basketball in Brooklyn, and all the kids are doing it now. It's become a culture.
He has a thing. He's a star in this league, a star in the making. Brooklyn Bridges. I think it's because Cat did all like
Cat did 4 fingers. Hand. Yeah. He also has a weird head tilt that he had going on too.
3, 1 less finger. I don't know. But yeah, I'm cool with that. Also, let's flash the bracket. Let's flash the playoff picture. I mean, it's coming into focus. I don't know what Milwaukee was doing. I didn't watch the game yesterday because I was in Yankee land and doing baseball stuff, but Celtics smacked them. This is how it's shaping up. This is what it's looking like. Miami and Atlanta are going to probably dance with each other, and they'll have the pleasure of doing what we had to do last year, come out as that, 7 seed and get smoked by the Celtics. I will take this series against the 76ers, man. It is almost like the writing is on the wall with the whole Ben Simmons move. Like, why would you help your rival? Why would you help a team that you're gonna end up facing? Ben Simmons is whatever. I saw some people say Ben Simmons pulled up to the season ticket holders event. He was in and out of there. I heard Cam Thomas stayed for a while and really talked to fans, and I appreciate that because there's a lot of narratives around that young man that he doesn't want to be here or whatever. I think he's just a kid. And I was talking to you guys before. I don't know who set up Mikal Bridges, but he was on stage and they had him take 4 attempts at draining a shot that was down on the floor. And I'm like, you never play basketball like that. You're always shooting up. You're never looking down, shooting down on the net. But whatever. I like the fact I went to the season ticket holder event last year. It was on a Saturday. This year, I think it was on a Tuesday. I wasn't even able to go, but I like the fact that now the Nets have this team that's more relatable, more likable, and the fans get to actually connect with them. They got to get Ben Simmons up out of here, but whatever. He's a non-factor. He's shut down for the year. That news came out this week. We move on with the guys that we have. And tonight they got to handle Trae Young and the Hawks, and I think they can. I think they will. What are you guys thinking about this game tonight? Who are you expecting to see? Another thing about Cam Thomas I meant to mention was, like, I think last episode I was talking about how, Nets fans want to see Cam get minutes, but, like, Cam getting minutes is not instrumental to winning. How many minutes did Cam get in the Rockets game? And I know they gave him some burn against the Magic, but, like, he didn't get any. He got a DMP, I believe. Edmund Sumner being back, he only got a couple minutes, but he gave us some juice against Miami. Royce O'Neal's playing 26 minutes. Seth Curry being back gave you 13 minutes. But really, this team is Nick Claxton, Mikal Bridges, Spencer Dinwiddie, Cam Johnson, Doe, and Royce. And then whatever else like Day'Ron Sharp can do, they can do. But I'm cool with where we're at and where we're going to be. And it's funny, we will face the 76ers. What's the date? Before the regular season ends, our last game, Sunday, April 9th, is against the 76ers. So I guess we'll get a little look at maybe their bench players versus our bench players, like a little tune-up, and then most likely face them in the first round of the playoffs.
I don't know why, but holding on to the 6th seed just feels important to me. And that was such a big step toward doing so in the last game. Edmund Sumner is the guy I'd be giving the minutes to, especially in the matchup with the Hawks against Trae Young, because Trae Young can sort of navigate the floor, get where he wants to get to. Obviously, he's going to try and draw fouls. Last time the Nets played the Hawks, they fell behind early, stormed back, and lost on that Trae Young buzzer beater. But these are the kind of games that they need to win at home against, an even sort of team. This is an even matchup. They're on the same kind of level. You hope that the Nets are a slight tick above Atlanta, because as Hudson mentioned, Atlanta's been exactly 500 in every regard. They're like the Seinfeld episode where he loses the money and he finds it in a pocket in some shirt that's in his closet, always breaks even. That's been the Atlanta Hawks this season. But every win is now massive because the Nets really only have to win 3 or 4 more games. And it's essentially assured that they will be in the regular playoffs and not the play-in. And I think it would just be such a nice note to end the season on for this group of guys to have Bridges on the trajectory he's on, to have this group of guys play well, hold that spot, get into the playoffs, give a representative effort going into the offseason, and feeling like you're building something rather than pending doom. And it's always felt like pending doom. And even now, the interviews, I know Katie did the interview the other day about how much he liked the organization and whatever, and blah, blah, blah. We're
not allowed to talk about Katie and Kyrie. Where's the one random dude in the chat, Piper123, that's like, here we go, talking about our exes again.
Well, I mean, Katie was saying that, and I guess for those who said, stars hate the Nets or whatever, that's the good news, as Katie said he loved the organization. But come on, as soon as things got rough, he wanted out, and it feels like the team that you can mold and the team that you can grow with. And I don't care about the fans who lose their minds on Twitter or say woe is me every time there's a loss. I do feel good about the direction. I do feel good about where they're at.
Yeah, and this wrapping up the 6th seed, winning a game or maybe 2 in the playoffs, that feels like where teams usually are when they're on a serious upward trajectory, right? Before they make moves to solidify, a serious title contending core, the season before that is usually reflected in a exceeding expectations type mode. Unlike where the Nets have been in the last couple of years, last year in particular, where they end up in the play-in theoretically while they're in their all-in mode, and then that's only a downward slide. That's only missed expectations. But now we're in a position where it feels not only like we can build on the Nets as an organization, but on this season in particular, on this core that we honestly cobbled together in the midst of a collapse. And so, now that we're going to have some time to have a full season of Mikal Bridges, have playoff experience with Mikal Bridges, I trust Sean Marks to be able to look at this team and see what we've gotten out of this team and know where to make improvements, because we're in a position where we have the assets, we have the team, we have the team on the court now who has shown themselves to be in a good position going forward, where you can look and have hope and make calculated, smart decisions that aren't based on appeasing one player, filling a hole that only exists because you don't have the money to pay, someone to fill that hole. It's just a good position to be in. And tonight is not the game that determines whether we're going to be the 6th seed, whether we win a couple games in the playoffs. But tonight, against a good Atlanta team that is competing for something, they are competing to get a higher play-in seeding. It's going to be good and really important for the Nets to put on a good performance tonight, because this will state their intentions, not only for the rest of the season, but with that, the future going forward under this current core.
In the chat, before we go to voicemails, appreciate you guys pulling up and always being active in the chat with your thoughts and comments. Jared said, I'd rather face the 76ers than to face the Celtics. Of course. And we will face them, like I said, the last game of the season. We've got 5 out of these last 6 games at home cooking, don't have to travel, sleep in your own bed. These guys will get it done. Let's see. Izzy Lugo says, if we just make the 6th seed, we did better than last season. I'm good with that. I have been pumping that message here and on WFAN since the trade went down. That's where I set the bar. And when they lost the first 4 games coming out of the All-Star break, I'm like, well, maybe we're destined for the play-in, but they fought back. Ramon, thank you for bringing this up. I know it might not matter to most Nets fans, but the Long Island Nets won today. They're one game away from the championship, or they're going to the championship. I think they're 1 game away from going to the championship. So props to them. Shout out to the Long Island Nets for being solid, led by David. There we go. Long Island Nets are now Eastern Conference Finals bound. They're going to the finals. Last time the team made it this far was 2018, 2019. It's like history is repeating itself. 2018, 2019, the Nets went and faced the Sixers in the playoffs. So also in the chat, Ree Hollis says Embiid going to get 20 free throws. With as shitty as the officiating has been this year, I do want them, because with the way that these guys are foul merchants and floppers, they might be able to even the game out. We might get into a weird game with the Sixers where they're not calling it right, and some things might go our way. And
the Philadelphia free throws, or the free throw bros, Embiid and Harden. Sometimes when the games get tougher in the playoffs, the refs swallow their whistles a little bit more on those plays. And when you're not attempting to score, and when you're just attempting to draw a foul, that can come back to bite you. And both those guys do that a lot. So that is one reason I think both of them have struggled, relatively speaking, in the postseason versus the regular season. And it's another reason, I don't hate the matchup for the Nets. Obviously, the Sixers are a very good team. Nobody's getting that wrong or getting that twisted. But, there's the Harden angle that you like. There's the fact that they don't have that point of attack player who's just going to break you down, which has hurt the Nets as of late. And then they have Embiid, but Embiid's already drawing all the attention. They don't have necessarily that other guy, that's not the main guy who's grabbing all the offensive rebounds and putting them back up, which has really hurt the Nets. So I don't hate that matchup personnel-wise.
I was going to say, if the refs do swallow their whistle, right, that also puts the Nets in a good position, because we've seen Nick Claxton struggle in matchups with MVP caliber bigs, largely because he ends up in foul trouble a lot of the time. That's been kind of a personal bugaboo of his against Joel Embiid in particular, because when you are in a situation where you are genuinely the Nets' only, I wouldn't say playable big, but playoff serviceable big, you have to be on the floor. And if you're not on the floor, you're in a bad position. And so making sure that he stays on the floor and, hoping that the refs can and will tighten things up in terms of not calling quite so much in the playoffs, I think that's going to be crucially important on that front as well.
Yo, what up, man? It's JQ. Find me on Twitter, NVOJQ. Yo, what's up, fellas? Yo, I just got to say some quick things real quick, man. For the rest of the Nets fan base, it makes no sense to try and go for a rebuild, to miss playoffs, to go and draft, try to get the lottery. Listen, man, our draft compensation in the next couple of years has nothing to do with us, whether we do bad or we're good. that all comes from what Phoenix does and Dallas and all the other picks that we have. Because unfortunately, we just don't have our picks. So why are we going to try to tank and not make the playoffs, man? Like, these are developmental years for Mikal Bridges. He needs to be in the playoffs these couple years and, like, really find himself. And maybe we have something with him, you know? Like, he needs to be the first option on a playoff team to see where he's really at. And we move forward from there, man. That's all I got to say.
Mikal Bridges is learning too. You see him learning on the fly. How does he deal with double teams? Adding that 3-point pull up to his game. How does he become a playmaker and find guys off the lob when he dribbles in? How does he use his mid range to fade defenders up and then get to the bucket? You see him adding all those tools to his game and getting more aggressive and more aggressive and more aggressive. So it'll be nice to see that in a playoff scenario too, because even if he struggles a little bit at times, he'll take those lessons for the next time around. He's new to this role. You look at the numbers, it's amazing what he's done over a big sample size right now, but he still has room to grow. And that's maybe the most exciting thing about the Nets right now.
I mean, not only that, right? We also have the expectations. I know we've talked about this a bunch. The expectations are off of us in terms of needing to win this playoff series or a championship or what have you to be successful in the playoffs. I think that's important. I think that's important for players, because if Mikal Bridges in some imaginary scenario was brought in to be the piece that won the Nets a championship alongside Kevin Durant or something like that, the expectations would be different, and he wouldn't have the, ability to fail, and the ability to fail not without consequences, but to fail and to learn and to grow and to get better and, become someone who can be more in this role in the future. And I think that's going to be really important as we enter a new era for this Nets team.
From the chat, Jonathan says it's a difference between being a fourth option with the Suns versus being the first options here. Hell yeah. And we know, we all watched. You think we didn't watch the Suns get to the finals the year that we thought the Nets were going to get to the finals? It's just now he's the guy. Now he's got to lead the way. And I want to see Nick Claxton against Embiid and in the playoffs. I want to see I don't know. We'll get there. I'm trying to get to these voicemails quickly. That two are there. You guys are funny. I'll put out a tweet like, "Yo, new Talking Nets at 4," and then the show will start, and then you guys start sending voicemails.
Yo, what up, fellas? It's your boy Rahala again. Listen, guys, I just want to say, no matter what happens today and over forward, we're playing with house money. We're dealing with a team that's developing, and we're going to go into the offseason with good energy, good vibes, and see what happens. The future looking bright for the Nets, no matter what. So this is house money for us. And it just makes it sweet that we have moved on. I definitely have moved on from KD and Kyrie, but we still got Kevin Durant out here talking that nonsense, talking about we didn't want the organization look shitty or whatever, and whatnot. Bruh, stop talking about the Nets. Stop talking about the Nets. You're still thinking about us. Stay in Phoenix. Enjoy the cactus. You know what I'm saying? Don't slip on the floor and don't hurt yourself. And as for Kyrie, man, I got nothing to say about that dude, man. Y'all already know what I think about Kyrie and his barbarian ideas and shit. Bruh, Kyrie out here talking about, I don't expect to get traded. You asked for a trade, my guy. You asked for a trade. That's all I got to say about that. Let's go next. And let's go talking next.
No comment.
Show,
no
bro.
comment.
Kyrie said he didn't expect to demand a trade. That's what it was. Exact quote was. I didn't expect to demand a trade.
That's what I was saying. Don't even get me started on what these guys are saying now. It's so far in the past, and I'm glad. I'm glad that this nonsense has nothing to do with us anymore. All things considered, Sean Marks got out of that situation with these two, and look at the comments, after. You don't hear anybody from the Nets side talking about what's going on with them. But now that they made that move, and like I said, these guys think that they have all the control and power. The basketball guys have control and power. The universe has control and power. You think you're doing something or you can control something, and it doesn't always work out how you have planned. You got something, Hudson, or are you good?
I don't want to get called out on Twitter again for talking about our exes or whatever.
I talk about Vince Carter. I talk about Jason Kidd. I talk about former Nets. I talk about Jared Allen and Karis LeVert. Like, it's fine. But I get it that, like, some people are still butthurt and emotional, and there is a fraction of our fan base that they're not even sure if they're still Nets fans. They just have all this Nets merch, and they're like,
They got
Yeah.
Suns avatars now on Twitter and a blue check mark.
All right. Play this last
Yo, what's up,
voicemail.
Talking Nets? What's up, y'all? Yo, listen, I agree. I'm listening to the show. Y'all know that. I was calling to ask, do y'all think that the chemistry in the office is going to be can be that much better? Because
So, someone is calling the voicemail right now.
For what
and
it's
that
worth,
just-
I do think that the chemistry can be
that's
better.
overriding the. That's big fan Breezy in the chat. I know that's you. I appreciate you, bro. Someone is calling right now. This call goes away. Okay, and now I can finish your voicemail.
playing different teams night to night before we go to the playoffs where we play one team night after night. See what I'm saying? So I think we could develop a lot of chemistry. We had 33 assists last game. The game before that, we had 30 assists. And I think the Nets could beat any team if we got 30-plus assists a night. I'm watching the show, just enjoying the show, man. And, yeah, shout out to y'all. But these last few games, it's a lot of playoff intensity because we don't know who's going to be where. And I think we could get 5th seed only because Randall is out the lineup for the Knicks. So I don't know how this is the first time all season, to my knowledge, that they've been without him in the lineup. So we'll see. I don't know if that 5th spot is safe for the Knicks fans, but we'll see. Love it, man. Talking Nets, I'm here, man. What's up?
Well, bulletin board material, I'd rather play Philadelphia than Cleveland. So 5th seed, I think the 6th seed is actually a little bit more appealing if everything stays as it is right now. When you go into the specific matchups, though, I agree with him in the sense of this is a team of vets. And I think with Jacques Vaughn as the coach and the team of vets, they can lock in against a specific opponent and maximize the game plan, that's going to be consistent over the course of a playoff series. Ultimately, it comes down to how many threes they're making. If they're hitting their clean looks from threes, they got a shot to hang in and win some of those games. When they're not, they usually don't, because that's how the team is currently constructed without, a bunch of guys who can go get their own.
Yeah, and not only is it how the team is constructed, but at this point, it's just a rule of basketball. If you're hitting your threes, any team can win any game, right? And obviously the Nets are constructed to be better at hitting their threes. But even when it comes down to a matchup against the Sixers, which I do like, other than the fan aspects of it, I think the Nets have a better chance to beat them than they do to beat the Cavs. I think the Cavs are a terrible matchup for us. But the truth of the matter is that the Sixers are a better team, and the Nets will need to hit their threes to win any games, because there is a reality, and it's an unfortunate one, where the Nets go on a skid. They can't hit their threes for 4 games, and all we're taking away are moral victories and not any real ones on the basketball court, which is fine. And, the reality of the situation that we're in, but hitting threes is going to be the answer if the Nets are going to be winning any games in any playoff series.
Shout out to whoever called twice from Dobbs Ferry at 434 and 434. Your voicemail is not registering. You got to just hit the chat, and that's all we've got anyway. We're wrapping this thing up. Thanks for watching. Thanks for the support. It's a long season, and obviously you can tell some people have dropped off, and good. We were filtering them out. We were filtering out the stands. It's refreshing for me to see some of the same names in the chat, some of the same people calling and watching and still, even hitting me. Like, shout out to Will. Will always hits me when we get a new Talking Nets. Like, that's motivation enough to come together and do the pod, right? Rihala, big fan Breezy. Jared has notifications on. As soon as we go live, Jared is in the chat. So we do this for y'all. We appreciate y'all. Shout out to Cook Carter pulling up. We got the playoffs coming up, but there's 6 more games left, 5 of them at home. The Nets got to handle business. Enjoy watching the game tonight. Just like Jared said in the chat, hit the like button and subscribe to Talking Nets. And I'll be on WFAN after the post game talking about the Nets, talking about baseball and other things. And I look forward to doing this next week and doing this during the playoffs, and hope that the Nets can surprise some people, and we'll see if the chips fall wherever they may. Going back to one thing before we end, I just went and pulled up the standings. I'm not going to be able to throw it up in the chat, but the Knicks are 2.5 games up on us, and without Brunson and without Randall, and tonight they play the Cavs. They're going to get beat by the Cavs. Even if they had those guys, they probably get beat by the Cavs. Then they host the Wizards, who could just be trying to play spoiler. They've got 2 games against the Pacers and a game against the Pelicans. They should be all right. And I want them to be all right because I want that 3-6 matchup. I don't want the Karis LeVert, Jared Allen, really Donovan Mitchell homecoming that these guys will have in the playoffs against Brooklyn. I'm good on that. So
Can I respond to William Guzman in the chat real quick? He asked when I'm on WFAN. You can catch me Sports Illustrated every day. I'm on Mad Dog Radio next week a couple times. Wednesday 7 to 9, Thursday night as well. I just did Busted Open Radio yesterday. You can catch the podcast of that.
Busted Open Radio. What's that?
That's pro
Meg
wrestling.
Thee Stallion?
No, that's pro wrestling. Yeah, I wish. That's with WrestleMania coming up. If you like wrestling, you can check that out. Thank you, Cook Carter. Those YouTube shorts, they be lit. And then, if Keith wants me in the studio, I'll come by one day. But
yeah, definitely. Now that I'm bringing people in the studio, I realize that I can do that. I would love to have you on. When was the last time you were even on WFAN?
It wasn't that long ago. I mean, I was on CBS Sports Radio every week for a while, and until I gave that one up just because I had just too much stuff going on. And I used to do, Chernoff was running the show, but I did spots on WFAN, a handful of
Wasn't
times.
a crazy question, William Guzman. He has been on WFAN and CBS Sports Radio, which is right next to each other in the same station. But that's all we got. I got to go run. These guys got to run. Thank you guys for watching. Subscribe, follow us, leave a voicemail, leave a review, and we'll be back to do what we do. Let's go Nets. Let's go Nets. Brooklyn.